is Marvel in crisis? Because now, oh my gosh, this article that just came from Variety. Where is it at here? Okay, this article here. My goodness, yo, this got everybody. Like all the people, all the internet talkers, all the fans, everybody online right now is like, oh my goodness, because of what Variety just dropped. And here's the thing: if you've been following this channel, a lot of this stuff we already talked about, we already speculated on, or we've covered to some degree. I think what is nice about this, that we finally have this, as being reported by a big outlet like Variety, it kind of adds a little bit more validation. Now, here's the thing: this doesn't mean that every single thing in this article is true. But I do think that what brings this to a little bit higher significance than some random person online, commenting on it, is if it's not true, then you're going to see a lot of outlets rushing to correct it. Because Variety, at least we would hope, just like Deadline, just like Hollywood Reporter, we would hope that they have done their research and that they've talked to trusted sources, and they're not just going to be out here reckless just for clickbait. That's the hope. They have built a reputation of at least trying to be reputable in that sense. I'm not saying Variety gets everything right. I'm not saying that they are perfect at all. I'm just saying that because we're dealing with a bigger outlet here, if some of this is not true, Marvel gonna have to speak up, or some other outlet is gonna correct them. But anyway, we're here right now. So now we're talking about the crisis, and this supposed crisis really kind of goes back all the way to the pandemic. This is not just something like right now. This is really like everything that's been going on since phase 4, in 2020. So we're going to go through this article right here, talk about a couple things. I am going to jump around a little bit, but I've broken it up in different sections. So first, we're going to talk about the Marvel state and like what's been going on with Marvel. Let me get here for you. So first off, it says here that this past summer, a group of Marvel creatives, including Kevin Feige, the chief, assembled in Palm Springs for the studio's annual retreat. Now, I have talked about this annual retreat to y'all before. Basically, this is where Marvel's able to powwow and really get things together. And a long time ago, we had a report that at the more recent powwow, they were supposed to be talking about how to explain. No, I'm sorry, this was 2 years ago. They were talking about how to explain the multiverse to general audiences. Now, I don't know if they've done the best job with that. Do y'all think Marvel has explained the multiverse in a very clear, understanding way where you can kind of understand, like you could just get it? I still think they kind of struggle a little bit with it. Loki right now, listen, I had to watch Loki like maybe 2-3 times just to really understand, like, okay, that's the sacred timeline, and then but you carry the one, and then that's the alternate timeline, but that timeline don't matter because okay. So it's a lot going on, but Marvel does go to these little, meetups or these retreats and this is really just the top executives mostly. So it's Kevin Feige, it's Nate Moore, it's all these other people that really control how the overarching narrative goes. They go there to figure this out. And they probably, I'm assuming, they probably keep everybody else, like all the directors and stuff like that, in the dark, because the directors, they really bring them in just to work on the movie and get out. They be like, look, work on this. You can do this. You can't do this. And that's it. But, we've also talked about how Marvel is changing some of their plans and stuff. But let's get back to more of the crisis here, in terms of what else has been plaguing Marvel, because we do have some insight here. So the article goes on to say here, replicating that kind of phenomenon is never easy. And what they're talking about is the phenomenon of the MCU having all this, success. Keep in mind, Marvel has earned nearly $30 billion over 32 films. I need y'all to conceptualize that for a second. $30 billion with 32 films. Now, of course, some films earn more money than others, but as a studio, as a product, as a business, that is unheard of. That is ridiculous. And this is one of the reasons why I try to remind y'all, we are in the middle of something historic. We are witnessing something on the cinematic landscape that has never been done before. It's almost like watching Michael Jordan play. And as a Chicago fan, I would sit here and watch Michael play every single game, every single championship. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, we finna win this. Oh, yeah, MJ got this. He gonna take care of it. Because I was in the middle of it, I didn't realize how historic, how amazing that was. You know, it's not until after the fact when you don't see another MJ for a long time. Shout out to Kobe. But it's after that when you're like, dang, that really was special. So what they're doing right now is something that is so ridiculously unique that it's hard to replicate what they did, because all they're doing is starting up a new level of comparisons. And the only people they can compare with at this point is themselves, right? So Marvel has to beat phase 1 through 3. That's what they have to beat. And phase 4 is not a good start off right now. Anyway, it says here replicating that kind of phenomenon is never easy. However, the source of Marvel's current troubles can be tracked back to 2020. This is during the pandemic, which ushered in a mandate to help boost Disney's stock price with an endless torrent of interconnected Marvel content for the studio's fledgling streaming platform, Disney Plus. According to the plan, there would never be a lapse in superhero fare with either a film in theaters or new television streaming at any given moment. So, what does that mean? This is one of those things that I try to tell y'all. The reason why Phase 4 has one of the reasons is because Marvel tried to do too much too fast, and it was because of the pandemic. Disney, who is the parent company of Marvel, Bob Chapek at the time, was like, yo, streaming is the future. So now we have to do more streaming to boost up Disney's stock. Well, what's Kevin Feige going to do? Kevin Feige is going to listen to his boss, because Bob Iger was gone, and do what the mandate was, which is, okay, the big boss at Disney wants more movies and they want more TV shows for the streaming platform. Now, some of the streaming stuff was cool. WandaVision, great. Loki, great. Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know, Moon Knight, you know, like it was hit or miss. But at the same time, this was too much for Marvel. And you're talking about a company that when they were rolling with phase 1 through 3, we would get maybe 1 or 2 movies in a year, maybe 3. And then that was enough time for them to like sit, marinate, fix any issues, do the quality control. They still had some misses, but they had more time to do what they needed to do. So now that they had like, I want to say they almost had like 7 projects or something like that. It was like, and that was like just in 2021. They had like 7 things going at the same time. That's unheard of for them, versus only working on maybe 1 or 2 projects in a year. So yeah, they was doing way too much too fast, and it caught up with them. It caught up with them bad. It says here the demands of churning out so much programming taxed the Marvel apparatus. Moreover, the need to tease out an interwoven storyline over so many disparate shows, movies, and platforms created a muddled narrative that baffled viewers. Yeah, I cannot disagree with that, because I don't know about y'all, but have y'all ever thought about what Moon Knight means to the MCU? I was just sitting back thinking about, like, we sat here and talked about Moon Knight, and Moon Knight ain't had nothing to do with the multiverse. It ain't had nothing to do with like time travel and nothing like that. It ain't deal with nobody else. I don't even think we ain't seen no Avengers or nothing. Why was Moon Knight even here? Now I understand that they wanted to sit here and talk about you know, all the spiritual stuff and the gods and you know, all I get that. But I'm like, nothing else connect to that. Nothing else. Maybe Werewolf by Night, maybe, but even then, nah, nah. So yeah, again, too much too fast, and by the time we get to whatever might connect to it, some people might lose interest, and that might be happening already. Let's see. Wall Street analyst Eric Handler, who covers Disney, he also said the more you do, the tougher it is to maintain quality. They tried experimenting with breaking in some new characters like Shang-Chi and the Eternals, with mixed results. With budgets as big as these, you need home runs, and that is absolutely true. You know, but I will still give them credit for trying new things. You know, I always give Marvel credit for trying to go the more art house route with Eternals, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of it. But at least they tried something new. They tried something different. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. A great example of when they do try something new, I would say, is probably Captain America Winter Soldier. Didn't have a whole lot of superhero stuff in it, and it worked just fine because it felt like the first time a comic book movie didn't feel like a comic book movie, felt like a spy espionage movie, and that was a great win for them, right? But now we go into the process of how Marvel operates behind the scenes. Again, we kind of suspected this, but now we have a little more confirmation. It says Kevin's real superpower, his genius, has always been in post production and getting his hands on movies and making sure they are finished strongly. And this is according to whatever source Variety was talking to. And they said these days he's spread thin. Oh my gosh. How many times? I know y'all heard that from me before. I know you've heard me sit here and say, yes, Kevin Feige is still to blame. Don't get my words twisted now, because two things can be true. Kevin Feige was spread way too thin because Disney wanted him to make 50 things for Disney Plus, forget the quality. And for Kevin Feige, the way he used to work is people would make the movie, and then once it was done, he would come in after and he would mix stuff up, change up the order, add things in the post credit. And this is again something I've told y'all about before. Marvel always works until the last minute. They will not stop changing their stuff, their movies, all the way until the movie hits the big screen. So once again, for all those people out there that used to try to give us grief when we was talking about recast T'Challa, change up the story or whatever, just because something's in post-production, Marvel's not done. They can always, and they have always continued to change things after the fact, sometimes for the better, and we're about to find out sometimes not so much for the best. It says here, Marvel's entire VFX battalion is struggling to keep pace with a never-ending stream of productions. Ant-Man, the sequel, they swapped Ant-Man with the Marvels in terms of scheduling, but what ended up happening was it pushed up its post-production schedule by 4.5 months. That means Marvel films are known for coming down to the wire, given Feige's ability to what they call foam the runway and land a plane that way. But this level of unfinished was unprecedented, and they're talking more so about the bad VFX that we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And then, of course, this goes back to the story that we talked about with Victoria Alonso. She used to be one of the big three, big four top executives at Marvel. And remember, the story that was reported was that she was basically blacklisting VFX workers and basically making them work overtime without extra pay and stuff like that, having unreasonable deadlines and things. So what ended up happening was, according to the reports anyway, Disney/Marvel blamed Victoria Alonso for working on another movie, Argentina 1985. They said because she was working on that, she didn't have enough time to work on the VFX that was so bad in SheHulk or Quantumania, etc. So now she refutes all of that, of course. But this thing over here says the VFX logjam had been evident for some time, with some final effects for such Disney Plus series like WandaVision and She-Hulk inserted after their streaming debuts. Now, I don't know if y'all recall when She-Hulk first came out. Don't y'all remember that first episode of She-Hulk? Or maybe it was in the trailer, and we were sitting here like, something don't look right. Like something's off with She-Hulk. Like she doesn't look good, right? And then after that episode came out, Marvel, I guess better late than never, they went back and fixed it. So now if you go and watch it, it's a lot cleaner compared to when we first saw it that first time that it debuted. So, it is what it is with that. It goes on with the VFX stuff, but some internal sources suggest Alonso was a scapegoat and point to the She-Hulk VFX issues as a symptom of a deeper rot, namely a lack of oversight on script development. Kevin Feige. In the original arc of She-Hulk, a flashback of star Tatiana Maslany transformation into her Hulk character didn't take place until episode 8, the penultimate episode. But after Marvel's Brain Trust watched the footage, it realized the scene needed to happen in the pilot right in the beginning so that the audience could see more of the character's backstory early. That meant that the VFX team was tasked with fixing the mess in post-production. Wow. So here's the problem. Yes, you can sit here and say, we have this deadline to get these VFX done, right, for She-Hulk, but if if Kevin Feige and his other people come in and they're watching it and they're like, okay, yeah, we know episode 8 got to get done, but we got another month or 2 months for this to, for them to finish the work. And you start watching it and you're like, you know what? We don't really like this. Let's put episode 8 on episode 1 instead. Well, if episode 8 now becomes 1 and episode 8 was supposed to get 2 more months of time, now you're rushing the VFX people, and that's why we get stuck with like the boo-boo stuff. And again, I agree with whatever this article was saying. That's on you. How come you didn't get that from the script? You have to wait until y'all shoot and y'all edit and y'all direct all this stuff, and that's when you want to play mismatch paddywhack with all these with these scenes? No, you can't do that. That's not okay. Y'all need to have a better plan. Now we do know, and we've heard reports that they are changing their plans, but this is just a mess in terms of how they were operating. And I think that it definitely explains why phase 4 had so many noticeable struggles, at least from our perspectives. It says here the so-called bad VFX we see was because of half-baked scripts, says one person who was involved with She-Hulk. That is not Victoria. That is Kevin, aka Kevin Feige. And even above Kevin Feige, those issues should be addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing the Marvel executives to sit with the material. Yikes. So, yes, Kevin Feige, that is on him because he needs to look at those scripts. He needs to look at the production. He needs to make those executive decisions like this is good, take this out, whatever, before they start actually shooting and paying, artists to fix it up or whatever. But according to this, it's also saying that whoever was above Kevin also got some of that blame. Now, this is something I want to remind y'all of. Back in the day when Bob Iger, before he left, it was basically Kevin Feige, Bob Iger. There was no middleman in between. Kevin Feige was given all creative control to do whatever he needed to do. And that's pretty much how we got phase 1 through 3, right? But when Bob Iger left and when Bob Chapek stepped in, Bob Chapek decided to bring some of his boys in, probably from the banking world or whatever, distribution, and he put them as a middleman right in between. So Kevin Feige didn't just report straight up to Bob Chapek the same way he did with Iger. He had to go report to whoever these new random non-creative business guys were, and they made certain decisions. And again, Kevin Feige's a company man. He's going to follow orders or whatever. Now, he still get the blame, but let's not forget, there were other parties involved too. Blame Chapek. All right, what else do we have here? Okay. So now here's the question. With all the mess that's been going on with with Marvel, actually, you know what? No, let's go to this first before we go into the mess or the potential cleanup. There was one more thing to ask, which is like, yo, is Marvel done? Is this the time where we should sit here and be like, yo, Marvel's had problem after problem after problem? What? Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? She hasn't seen Epoch. Oh, Jesus help us. This is the first time she's seen me, so. Yeah, because your wife is one. Yes. Okay. So, anywho, while some people might be asking, is Marvel done? What can stop staring at me? Go away. The question is Marvel done? Are they done? Okay. Got me all off my square. It says here, writing the Marvel obituary would be ill-advised. And this is coming from Jason Squire, a professor at USC School of Cinematic Arts. And he says Kevin Feige is the Babe Ruth of movie executives, and Marvel has the most profitable track record in movie history, no question. And he's right. He's right. That, like I said before, nobody's done this before, And I think what we need to remember is that, Marvel and Kevin Feige, the way they kind of came out the gate, again, unprecedented. And I will probably use a boxing analogy here. In my opinion, Marvel was like Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson first came out, this dude was tearing people up. He was the scariest man on the planet. Not one person wanted to step in the ring with Mike Tyson and act like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be an easy match. Okay. I mean, watching Mike Tyson, that used to scare me. I felt like I was getting hit half of the time. And he was an unstoppable force until Buster Douglas. When Buster Douglas came and like knocked Mike out, people was like, what? Who? First of all, who? What? How? Right? So, in other words, the pandemic and phase 4 is like Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. And what ended up happening was after that knockout, people was like, oh, so Mike is human. So he isn't just an unstoppable, crazy force of nature. He's still dangerous, but he can be taken down. So now this is where people are kind of being like, oh, okay, Marvel isn't perfect. Marvel does have flaws, and that's always been the case. But because of the heights that we've seen them reach, now we have to kind of adjust our expectations with them. So, yes, I agree that Marvel has had some great success in the past, and then they've had some recent like trip ups for real. But nobody's saying that they about to be dead for real. Like, if you think Marvel's down and out, you don't know the film industry and you have not paid enough attention to how Marvel adapts to anything that happens. They've made mistakes before, but unlike other studios that keep doing the same dumb stuff over and over and over again, Marvel changes. And we talked about this before where we had the report about Marvel changing up how they're going to do TV. Now they're going to sit here and be like, yo, we're not going to have our movie executives come in and no. We're going to go back to the old formula for TV. We're going to go back to what used to work and has been working. We're going to go ahead and get people that know the TV stuff, that can come up with a show Bible, that are there from beginning all the way to the end, that's not going to be hunkered down by this executive. No, we're doing it the right way. And that is something that we have to give them credit for. We also have to give them credit for when Bob Iger came back and he was like, you know what? We're doing too much. We have to slow down. Everybody don't need a sequel, Ant-Man. Ant-Man. Everybody don't need a sequel, man. So again, these are positive signs that at the very least, Marvel is learning from their mistakes and hopefully they will get better. So we're going to end this portion of it right here. What do y'all think about these insights and these speculations and different perspectives that were brought in about the trips and falls of Marvel during the pandemic up today? Does this change your perspective on Marvel? Does it give you new insight maybe? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. This was just a segment of one of my live chats, and if you're interested in joining in on the next one, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for more. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.